Hello and welcome to another Sunday session, and it'll be me and Murray today when he gets here. Don't forget to drink your water because it's warm enough weather. And so you've got me pre-prepared for a road trip, 4 hours down to somewhere to stay for tonight to come back with the new newer nitro. It's not new, but it's new to me. That's all day tomorrow on the road. So that's the plan. Pre-trip, ready to go, packed, fueled up, check the oil, check the water, check this, check that. Maiden voyage for the new fridge that picked up last year. Car fridge, like 45 litre car fridge. So give that a test run. So today's subject, I think Murray was going to catch on earlier, but today's subject, 3 things you need to be successful at anything. And everyone should know this one. First point, focus. If you can't focus on the job, how are you ever going to complete it? Really simple, that one. The second thing you're going to need is consistency/discipline. So are you going to be able to go to training all the time? Practice your things, do your lessons, for like we do for the online stuff. There's lessons in the platform to do, so you've got to be disciplined enough to be consistent enough to learn things, do the lessons, repeat the lessons if you need to grow as a person. So that's 2 of the 3 things: focus, consistency/discipline. The third thing, and this is ultra successful people have this ability. So the ability to accept the fact of delayed gratification. So it might be years before you make a certain level, cut the mustard, get the prize, win the grand final, whatever it is. So all the sports stars accept this. You might not win your first game, you might not win the first season, but you're all aiming for the premiership, so you might have to wait for that premiership gratification. That's the footy term. But the ability to, you expect that in a sports team, but do you expect that in, say, bricks and mortar business? Or I'll use farming as an example because I'm living and breathing that. Oh, I've got to send Murray an invite. I can't see you on, Muzz. Oh, excuse the finger. So that's farming. So you plant your crop, and then you got to wait for rain, and then you get a harvest. You may not get a good harvest every time. So, and that gratification, having a successful harvest to buy more machinery or upgrade machinery or maintain the machinery to a better standard is thing. I wonder how I can invite Muzz if he's not on. Let's go around this way so you don't get my fat finger. Let's try and work out. How do I do that? Link? No. I'm sideways now. Not that. Mars, I can't see you on the video, mate. I've got a couple of people on and I can't see Murray. Well, there's 3 people on apparently. So, welcome people. 3 people for the 3 things to be a successful business person. Wonder if it's the interweb. Wonder if I can do that. No, that does the same thing. I can see the viewer number, but not all the viewers in my list. Because if you're in from... Actually, I don't know. Can't explain that. Not an expert on everything. Don't even try and answer it if you don't know. Yeah. So that's the 3 things in a nutshell. while Murray works out a way to get here. I wonder if I can I do that? Am I still on? Did I blip out on that one, or am I still on? We'll find out in the replay. That could be fun. I had to send old Muzz a message in the messenger chat. So swipe the video out the way and we'll see if that was still recording. Some other pearls of wisdom I've got to share today. So people complain about the cost of things. Right? So, and this is an analogy of, okay, the price of a car, or the price of a course. There you go. Well, let's use that. So the price of education, sending our kids to school, high school, boarding school, stuff like that, the cost associated. But what they don't understand, or what they fail to see the potential of the cost, is the most expensive thing that everyone pays is the cost of not knowing. So here we go. We've got him. So yeah, that's the pearl of wisdom that I'll repeat again to Muzz, and we'll get the aspect. We got here,
G'day.
Chief.
Scotty, how are we?
Oh, marvellous. I'm all prepped and ready for the road trip. So,
Road trip. That sounds like the shot. I've in and amongst buddy popping in and out trying to get on here today. Here we've got 3 things to discuss today, and yeah. So
Yep.
What's the road trip about?
Road trip is to actually go get the new nitro. So
No way.
I did the road trip the other week to get the swathing front, and then today is go down to Duke Orleans Caravan Park, stay the night so we can get a full day driving the machine back tomorrow. Because it could be easily 10-hour trip or longer.
Yeah.
No, and I don't mind 10 hours in a tractor because we're used to that as farmers, but it's 10 hours on the road.
Yeah.
There's a lot of anomalies on the road, cars, caravans, trucks, that you don't have out the paddock.
And I always laugh at, especially over the Easter period, been on the road a bit myself, and it's some people don't seem to respect others on the road or themselves enough to play the game right. And especially in a bigger machine like your nitro isn't exactly small, great big praying mantis thing that they look like.
Yep.
And any trucks and big rigs on the road, the number of times you have someone overtake you at night, or overtake either yourself or the truck in front of you. The other day I had one overtake the truck in front of me. I didn't realise it was overtaking. I thought it was just a reflection off the side of the truck until I realised that particular reflection kept getting closer. And I actually had a pile up of cars behind me. I had to pull everyone up to bloody get off the side of the road and get this individual finish his death run, trip around the overtaking. So it's not just yourself you're trying to be careful of, it's watching out for these other people who've got no bloody idea. So talk about anomalies.
Well, and that's exactly right, because it's not how good a driver you are, it's how good a driver the other person isn't that causes the accident.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing you can do about how what people don't know. And that was actually the point just before you got on about the cost of things. So the quote goes, the most expensive thing everyone pays is the things you don't know.
Mm.
And that's a perfect situation for it. If they don't know what a 5 meter machine does to a car, off the back of a truck or something like that, and there's something that sinks in even more. So when we take the air seeder down the road, people come like, oh, it's just a big tractor. And then when they get closer and they see all these tines hanging out the side, they go, oh my God. That's when they panic and get off the road. It's like, well, I've got my
too late.
Oversized signs on. I've got my pilot jacket on. I've got the flashing lights. It's not as if you can't see me. It's obvious has, but that's what it is.
And on that, Stuart, it's so funny you say that. I mean, there should be no excuse to not see you coming. And I had a lady work for me some years ago now. And she asked me about all these signs that we have on our trucks, tractors and things for overtaking. Well, not for overtaking, but just as a warning, oversized, long vehicle, yada, yada, yada. She said, what's all that for? I said, it's so people can see that it's coming, and know that it's a certain width or length or whatever. She said, can't they see it's a fucking big truck? And I said, unfortunately, this is the thing that people don't, because there's a state of unknown or ignorance. I'm sorry, but a little bit of ignorance where people don't actually, it's okay. And we're talking about a lot in our family where people have no self-preservation. They've got no understanding of the feeling of pain.
Mm.
If something goes wrong, there's a lot of pain coming. And anyway, I could crap on about this for ages. It's one of my pet topics.
You go up north and you try to get around a triple road train. In this cruiser I've got, I don't even try. I don't have the power. I need a good couple of Ks to get past it because I know I know how long they are. But then you get whoever it is in the little Mazda MX-5 or little car, and they want to get around 45 metres of truck in a hurry, and they don't know that when you come around the front of that truck, that wind's going to hit you like a brick. And you just watch it and you just go, I don't want to know.
And the worst part is, and I know that, and I'm sorry for anyone watching, if you don't agree, that's your opinion, but unfortunately, law won't allow you to speed to get around that truck as well. So there's a lot of people who sit there doing 110 getting around that truck. In that short window, like you're talking about, Stuart, you've got 45, 50 metres of rig to get around, and you're doing the limit. There's no way you're going to make it in time to get around safely. It's
need about 2 kilometres.
Just astounding. Yeah. You need it 2 kilometres, and it's so scary. And so one part of me is excited for you in the new rig, but at the same time, as you say, like you got to be watching out constantly for the people wanting to get around you or coming towards you, wanting to get underneath your wheel.
Well, I giggle because I've seen it on YouTube and stuff. So with the nitro, it's a big, tall machine, so you can walk underneath it.
Yeah. And
I reckon every bloke, I'm going to say this is a bloke thing, every bloke that rides past on a motorbike has that little inkling go, I could ride underneath that. But if someone did that, I would shit myself. Watch this motorbike come out from between my legs underneath it. You'd be going, what? I'd have a laugh about it. But, that's another form of insanity. I would enjoy the experience, but not enjoy the experience at the same time. But that's part of that self-preservation.
I think if you knew it was coming, I think it would be a blast. And if you wanted to go the extra mile, get a bit more safe, you'd put some cameras underneath so you can see what's going on as he's going through. But yeah, absolutely, it'd be. I hear.
Yeah. But that's the wonders of helmet cams and YouTube.
Yes. So, like that joke.
Someone has done it. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do, but that's what happens. So
anyway, carrying on.
These 3 things. There's 3 things you need to be successful at anything. Absolutely anything. Focus. If you can't focus on the job, nice squint, got the joke. If you can't focus on the task at hand, whether it be learning to play football, learning to make online videos, learning to make dynamic content, or becoming a basketball superstar, if you can't focus on the task, you will not succeed. simples. That's a really easy one. The next one is where a lot of people start to trip, fail, and then, so consistency / discipline. If you can't do your basketball training, do your football training, even do that extra. If you want to become an extra special person, you have to do extra training. You can't just do enough. And it's like with our online training, I've had to do some 3, 4, 5 times to really enhance what I'm trying to learn about writing an Instagram post or something like that. Do some speaking training, do some, you've got to watch some content, try some content, practice runs. There's heaps of videos on my phone of stuff that I've recorded and go, you know, I'm not going to post that, but at least I did it. It's like me doing the webinar, the live webinar the other month. It's terrible. Like I watched my own replay and I went, wow. I looked as nervous as I felt, and it come across that way. And it certainly, you know, to send out that webinar, I wouldn't buy off me, so I'm not using it. But I've done it, so you know, do another one. And speaking to another bloke in the men's chat the other day, he was doing a webinar. Him and his wife were doing a webinar every week. They've done like 20 of them now. So
yeah,
they've got them down pat. They've got them pretty consistent. Yeah, that's the practice.
absolutely.
But it's the discipline of doing it to get better, to be successful. If you don't do it and you don't put it out there, like my webinar, done, it's out there, but it's not really over promoted. So that's not going to be a successful webinar. So discipline for Stewie, get more done. All right. So then the other one is the ability to handle delayed gratification. So a lot of things happen these days where you get instant gratification. So, you know, you might, football, for example, go to a couple of trainings, play your first game, you win your first game. Yay, everyone had a win. So that's team gratification. And if you're really lucky, you get on a good team, you play your first game, first season, and get your first grand final win. If you're really lucky. And that's a form of delayed but instant. But if you don't do the training, you're not going to make the team and stuff like that. But also, like some of these online games that the son plays on the Xbox and stuff, there's a form of instant gratification all the time that keeps them hooked on it. But he doesn't possess, for lack of me trying, the ability to accept the delayed gratification of stuff. So like with the farm, you plant the crop, you have to wait for the rain, you put your effort in, and you wait for harvest, and it may not be a good harvest every year. Harvest finishing a bad harvest doesn't feel like gratification. Trust me. Finishing a good harvest is that highlight as to why you keep farming. One of the reasons why you keep farming, apart from the passion. That, you know, so that waiting for that good year and having the ability, the training, not just driving the tractor, having everything prepped and ready for that good year so that you can take advantage of all those situations. And that's the discipline and doing it year after year after year is the consistency. So that's the 3 things you need, and all the ultra successful people have these abilities. So Donald Trump didn't make his first million that quick. Neither did Grant Cardone. Neither did Richard Branson. Right? And these are all big hitters, right? Kobe Bryant. He didn't become an NBA star out of the box. He's done like 15 million practice shots for 15,000 to count or something like that. There's a stat out there that'll correct me, right? But that's sort of the effort, the discipline that he had to go to be successful more than someone else. Like if someone had, say, over that, was just stick with the number 15. If someone did 15,000 practice shots or 150,000 practice shots to take 15,000 shots in a game over 15 years, how many would they get versus the person that has taken 15 million practice shots?
Mm.
Right? So there's a confidence,
Absolutely.
and I saw it on a reel. It's like when Kobe shoots that ball, he believes 100% that it's going in. Whole body, full mind, soul belief, because he's done that many practice shots that have gone in, and he keeps doing them. So it's like we're going to keep doing these Sunday session videos and revealing all this dynamic content in a way for people to learn for free. You're welcome, people, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, all that sort of stuff that we're sharing all this wisdom on. So,
and that's the buddy. It's interesting what you're just saying about the basketball player there, Stuart. I really like that, because it makes you realise, like your experience in farming and with sheep, you know that things are going to work through experience and practice, or practiced experience, depending how you want to word that. But that's a very interesting way of. I'd never considered that before. I admit that I get quite nervous about new things, and especially new. There's a new product or a new, like learning to fly, for example, was terrifying because it was so out of my field of expertise. Everything up to that point, I have done my whole life. Well, not everything, but most things, like mustering, cattle work in the yards, driving trucks, machines, fixing windmills, pretty broad thing. All that stuff is kind of second nature, where I'm, for the majority of the time, 80% of the time, I know instinctively what to do next. Whereas you get to something like that, but again, that's where this comes into practice and consistency, where you have to do it all the time. And like when you learn to fly, and the same for when you're playing footy or playing basketball or whatever, you show up for those trainings. You do it all the time. And in flying, they say the same thing. Like it's if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll speak right into that, because at 43 going on 44 on footy, I spent most of this summer doing push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups to keep that muscle tone. Because I noticed the year before, when I stopped after footy season, the legs start to shrink. And it's like, because I'm not running around, right? So that's a actual thing. Like, it's more of a problem for people over 40 than it is for people between 30 and 40. And under 30, you probably don't lose as much as you think. But that's a perfect example of, if you don't use it, you lose it. So in my effort to be there for the club and have a better season this year, I've been doing extra training. And the boys may giggle, but I know what's happening in my body. But that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And to focus on a sport and go, all right, I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve that year. I need to do more. Or like with your flying would be the same. If you don't take a flight for 1 or 2 years, and then you get back in, you're going to be rusty. It's like
very much so.
Pre-season now, my kicks are rusty. I'm terrible. I wouldn't play me, but I'll train and I'll get more consistent, and then I'll be happy to be part of that team.
And with that, Stuart, I mean, say with your footy, I mean, you keep your practice in, you, as you said, you're doing sit-ups and push-ups, keeping your body tone up for sure. I don't know if you practice your kicks or whatever when you're at home or what have you, but I mean, it's all those things so that when you're back out on the field, on the oval, you're straight back in the swing of it, essentially. It's like you never left. And again, the likes of my father and friends that have flown their whole lives and haven't stopped, there are so many things that they can do instinctively off the bat. Whereas me, because I've been out of action for a while due to medical reasons, or not necessarily medical, but medical for CASA, that's a whole other story, as we all know.
Yeah, road train's no
I'll
different,
have to do a flight review. Sorry?
road trains are no different.
Absolutely. And I mean, I admit, I love the romance of driving trucks, but I couldn't do what those guys do up north or anywhere in Australia. Driving those big rigs, dealing with what we're talking about before, the temporary Australians, dealing with that sort of anomalies. I really like that word for the day. And if you get out of it for a while, you've got to deal. It's a complete, it's a mental strain all the time, I think, and especially to a certain degree. Look, I'm not saying that it's easy for those blokes pulling triples or quads of ore from point A to point B, but I give the stock carters top marks. With 4 decks of sheep per trailer, or even 3 decks, 2 decks of time of cattle. You've got that extra thing of height swaying behind you, and I mean I've carted a few loads of hay here and there, and that's daunting enough for me. Having that swaying behind you, you're constantly on the ball. I find that's me.
I'm terrified to ever do cows, because I know how I've done a few loads of sheep, 3 decks of sheep, and when that top pen maybe wiggles a bit, you can feel the whole thing sway, and you go, well, if I get a bump and they sway, they're going to pull the trailer over, and that's one of the reasons why cow trucks roll over, is because of the massive, a couple of ton of cows suddenly they lean and they all fall one way, or one falls over, another one falls on top of it. That tons of weight shift and that physics of transfer puts the whole thing out of balance. There's nothing the driver can do about it. He's done his best job to that point to not let things happen, and that's an art form, driving stock trucks.
And again, a friend of ours, known him my whole life, and I said him the other day, because they have a few drivers go through their business, and it's nothing that I can see it's nothing to do with my friend or his wife and their business. It's the fact that I think I said to him one day, I said, I give you top marks, for what you do, and it must be hard watching these guys come and go through your business sometimes. And he said, it's weird. I don't think we do that hard. And I said, and I was sort of talking. I said, well, the biggest thing is that you've done this your whole life. You've driven trucks since you're a teenager and all the rest. And he sort of hadn't really given it much thought. Like it is second nature to him. Again, like this is this consistency, this discipline. And as far as I know, he hasn't had an accident, but that's, it's not one of those things you sort of talk about, really. But again, knowing how to
have a couple of close calls as experience.
Absolutely.
You can't operate for that long and not have a close call.
At least a close call, I'm sure, would have definitely happened. And but also he had his father's experience to pull on as well. I take my hat off to him, and the mental strain of driving the hours that he does, on top of the loads that he carts, as you said, the shifting, and different types of cattle too. You get he's carted some pretty poor cattle for us in the past, where they shift around a bit because they're sort of uncomfortable, they're skinny, they're light, they're distressed. There's a certain way to load them. It's an art form, as you said before. It fascinates me.
Yeah.
I'll leave it to the professionals. I like my single deck, so that's easy. I can do
that. That triggers me, because when I'm trying to teach guys, like trying to teach the new workmen how to drive the boom sprays. So I've been spraying for a long time, and then I think it's not that hard, because this thing steers itself for the best of it. Auto steer, auto shut off nozzles. You press the start button once you fill her up, and you go till it stops, and you press the stop button, and then you go back and fill up and go again. So, but it's the cornering and the angle of approach and the speed. And I do certain things naturally, trying to show the workman while he's trying to learn the 19,000 buttons he's got to push to make it do all that. And then I don't not expect mistakes. I've learnt that guys in their first year in the tractor are going to have wiggly entries and stuff like that. As much as we've got 2 centimetre auto steer, it's only as straight as the guy behind the steering wheel. And it's so over time, guys learn to do these things. Like we had a workman for a few years in a row, and it got to the point it's like, all right, we're going seeding. What do you want me to do? He goes, get out the way. Spray, get in your boom spray and spray it and get out the way. I've got it. All right, done. There's nothing wrong. You know, headlands the whole lot, because we have this rule that first year tractor drivers don't do headlands. So then we have to budget our time to go do the outside 2 laps of a paddock at the end, right? So, you know, it's just a bit of management adjustment until they can prove through some paddocks that, you know, you can see from when you do your headland laps at the end, you can see how good their entries are. So when they learn that art from, you go, right, he's got the entry straight and he can, but that's steering for most of it. We do the headlands freehand. So then you've got to learn where I've got a bolt on the exhaust on that side and got notch on that side, and some bloke put a texter mark on it 1 year for his seat height, and there's the bottom of that GPS thing, and you run that along that fence, and that gets your air seater straight down the fence. And learning tricks like that, different. I'm a different height in the tractor to Dad, so we had different marks on the window, and we used to discuss this. So you go and just look at that bolt. I look at that bolt, and it's halfway through the next paddock.
It's wrong for you.
Yeah. Well, so Dad and I are a similar height, but my waistline is like 3 or 4 inches higher than his because my legs are longer.
Yeah.
So when I sit in a seat, I'm shorter in the seat than he is.
Yeah.
So you get in the car, and my seat's a bit further back because I've got longer legs. But then he gets in and goes, adjust the seat forward, which is slightly hilarious because the new bloke we've got, he's not a super tall bloke. So he gets in utes and he has to pull the seat a long way forward. And then he's quite polite. He remembers to push them back, but sometimes I get in and I go, oh, he's pushed it all the way back. I've got to bring it back half a knot.
You can bring, yeah.
But, you know, rather than just, because Dad and I got to a point we just used to leave the seats in the position that we got in the vehicles. In the tractor, you go up and down a little bit, but yeah, like that's all these learning things. And as teachers, you know, full credit to the online system that we've got access to, the teachers to teach us how to do webinars, Facebook videos, how to do a live and create an atmosphere, some content, some impact. Lean in and create some impact. Things like that. Yeah, and then be able to learning to spin that out into reels through some tools. And then, like I dropped in the chat the other day about one that Scotty put up, but someone else made. I'm going, and it had like this awesome animation and stuff. I'm going, that's awesome. I need to learn how to do that. So there's somewhere in the platform that will, or I can reach out to someone and go, hey, can you give me some tips on how to do that? And so, yeah, teach your student mode. And it's something, you know, that was the thing that Bobby triggered me on when he did my numerologically NHD reading. There you go. I've just got it. We'll just call it NHD, Numerological Human Design. Fancy word for numbers, all right?
Yeah.
But it has a lot of meaning. And he said, one of the things he said is, you've got to be a good student as well as a teacher. So I'd probably dropped the ball on the good student for a long time, a lot longer than I thought I did. So I've made more of an effort to go back in and do more learning. Bonus.
But it's funny you say that, Stuart, because it's one of those things. Being a teacher, I think, you know, and like yourself, you have people working for you, and it really opens your eyes to what you do every day. As you said earlier about taking things, you know, you do second nature in nitro. And it's not until you get someone else that it makes you question how you do things. Well, maybe not necessarily question it, but having to actually explain these things that you take for granted that we do every day,
and how
explain
hard
that to
it
someone
actually
else,
is.
and how hard it actually is. I think that makes us better people if you're open to it and open to teaching it to someone else, and also reteaches you a little bit, and if need be, especially when you approach with a question as to, well, why do you do it this way? And depending on who it is who's working for you at the time and their level of experience, when they ask you, well, why don't you do it this way? Sometimes it can be a bit of a hard pill to swallow when you go, well, that actually is a bit easier to do, or maybe that makes more sense, or it's more efficient to do it this other way.
And that's a great point for leadership. So guys that do things a certain way, and then someone says, why do you do it? Why do you do it that way? Why can't we do it this way? And if you go, no, this is the way I do it, so that's the way we're doing it, you're a knobhead, right? If you can't explain yourself, I do it this way because then the microbes get in the right spot, or this is the air seeder works this way, so that's why we do it that way. If you can't justify your experience to go, why don't we do it another way? It's like spreading urea versus spraying Flexian. Much of a muchness, right? It's still a nitrogen application, but there are reasons why I've shifted to 50-50, and that's all about the science of the way it breaks down and the need for moisture and stuff like that. So,
yes.
But to explain, when someone will go, well, why do you spread urea before the tractor? Why don't you spread it after? And the reason being, so I don't put wheel tracks and crush my furrows, and then the spreader's not the most even, and then you cover it up with the dirt if you do it before the tractor anyway. So, there's all these reasons that I can say that's why we do it that way, because it's covered up, so less volatilizers in the atmosphere to the moisture and stuff like that.
The thing is, you can explain it, and if you can do that, that's great. But I do also think if you can't explain why you do something the way you always do it, you've also got to be open to explaining the fact that you don't know why. It is something that we've always just done that way, and we hadn't really given it much thought.
Because that's the way Dad did it, isn't an excuse.
And I think it is a bit of an excuse, but also as long as you can own the fact that you just haven't thought that about why to do it any other way, or you just haven't given it. As long as you're open to that.
Yeah.
Don't just say, like you said before, don't just say that, well, that's all it is to it.
Yep.
Okay, I don't know why we've always done it this way. It just is.
Well, that was an interesting experience with fencing. Sorry to cut you off again, Muzz. So you guys, and we're putting up some fence around the house yard, keep the sheep out, right?
Yeah.
And something I learnt years ago, because we'd always use gripples or fence joiners, and then you twist it round when you join your rolls together for your long stretches.
Yes.
So, and then I went on a busy bee one day, and someone showed me how to do a figure 8 knot. So you just use the netting that's there and go tie, done, and that's as strong. And then when you tie around your strainers, understanding we used to just go around like that, done, and then you'd wonder why a big strain would slip or pull out because you didn't do your self-terminating knot. So then showing these guys to go, do you guys know what a self-terminating knot is? No idea. All right, come down here, watch this, and I'll show you how to do 3 or 4. It's 8-line netting, so I did the bottom half, seems to be and then I said, have a go, because you can only get it wrong. All right.
Yeah.
But if you get and that sort of thing is, like there's still not wrong. If it's tied on, it's tied on. But to teach those guys and for them to learn, we've still got more fencing to do. But I had to learn. I'd done it one way for so long because that's the way Dad had done it, and then I learn a different way, which I think is a more efficient way. So then I've shifted to that way. So then when Dad and I did fencing years ago, after I learnt this trick, I was showing him. I said, well, we don't need the gripples now. We don't need the pliers. You know, if a netting breaks and you want to join it, that's a perfectly good system rather than trying to restrain a fence. And, you know, if you want, there's a million ways to, you know, farm fence, and we're talking about fencing. Imagine that.
Yeah.
But
Imagine
all these different tricks there. I learnt Dad's way, and then I had the ability to change from experience from someone else, completely random, and then for me to share that experience with the guys, because one of the guys said he'd done fencing before, but they'd used the gripple things. And I went, oh, we don't use them because we had some pull apart, even if we did notch it round. So we don't use them particularly on the bigger strains. But the good old figure 8 knot, you don't need gripples, you don't need pliers, and works well on the bigger strains. And I loved it when I was just tidying up some other fence, and I saw the strain that I'd done 2-3 years ago now, and that little figure 8 knot, because of how tight, you know, 600 meters of, I think it was nearly 700 by the time we strained it up, and you pull it that tight to get it to stand up. And then these little figure 8 knots that were these big loops, sort of doing that sort of thing, they'd pull to these tiny little stars. I went, wow, that's still holding, and that's tight, and it's like it was manufactured like that. If it didn't have the big long tail, you'd swear that was a manufactured knot.
Absolutely.
Like all that experience to share to other people, and the ability to explain it it made me feel okay that I'm sharing that experience without having the pressure on them to go, all right, now I've shown you, now you have to do it that way. So that's the other ability that I have to learn as a leader and a teacher, is I can still be wrong. And if they can't do it, that's fine. I don't, they can't learn to drive the tractor straight. If they can't learn to get the entries on the boom spray so you don't get gaps. If they can't learn to tie the fence up. Not everyone learns to shear a sheep. It's a terrible habit. But you know, so, and that's, it's okay. Yeah, there are millions of people in the world that don't know how to do things that we do, like online videos and drink awesome water. And maybe they should start to drink awesome water and make online videos.
Absolutely. And the thing is, there's all these alternatives that we can make most of, and being open to it. To, like you said at the start, getting your focus, discipline and consistency.
Yep.
And the
delayed
third
gratification.
one, and to accept delayed gratification.
Yep.
All part of the process.
The facts are, that's the facts, because I've been in this business for nearly 4 years.
Yeah.
So don't tell me I'm not accepting delayed gratification, because I will get to 602. It's on the vision board. It's in the green steps, just there.
Absolutely.
4A,
Look at that.
6A, 6A2, 6A2-2, 6A2-4. Mum gets to shave the beard. Done. Written down. It's done. Just got to keep making more Facebook videos to share on Instagram, making reels with that thing that I use, that if you want to know, you'll have to message us. Ah, there you go. That's the trap. There's the hook. If you want to know, you've got to message us.
Got to get amongst it. Well,
Alrighty.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to buddy cut you off there, and I need to get going myself.
That's
and I suppose you're going to get ready for your road trip anyway. So
yeah, I'm just going to go put the final touches on. The workman messaged us while we're on the chat here, so he's on his way.
Cool beans.
So we can get going as early as we can, and might have a beer on the beach this afternoon.
Oh, what a bastard, eh?
Yeah, really tough on the south coast of Western Australia, having a beer on the beach, watching the sunset. It's going to be really tough.
I feel for you. Yeah. I just, sorry, mate.
All right. We'll do the sign off, hey?
Sounds
Thanks,
good, mate.
to the
You lead
farmers
off.
for growing all the food. You do a wonderful job. Thanks to the truck drivers, particularly the stock drivers today. You've been topic of discussion. You guys are awesome, getting all their goods around Australia and the world. And thanks to all the veterans and service people that have fought and protected us for our way of life. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Peace out and have a good one.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching us.